begin with a... If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive... Then I'll punish... Okay, let's talk...
Chihiro's fatal injury. It appears it was a head wound.
According to the Monokuma file, the killer used a blunt instrument. But what kind of blunt instrument could it have been?
Shoot!
Chihiro's fatal injury. It appears it was a head wound.
According to the Monokuma file, the killer used a blunt instrument. But what kind of blunt instrument could it have been?
I bet it was an iron pipe.
Interesting. That certainly would make for a powerful weapon.
Poor Chihiro.
Chihiro's fatal injury. It appears it was a head wound.
According to the Monokuma file, the killer used a blunt instrument. But what kind of blunt instrument could it have been?
I bet it was an iron pipe.
No, that's wrong!
Can we agree that the object that dealt the... It was covered in blood? And there was nothing else at the scene that could have caused that kind of injury.
And the wound on the victim's head is consistent with the shape of the dumbbell. As far as I'm concerned, there's no...
You looked at her head wound?
Yes! That's so creepy!
If you don't mind, I will... Although, I... What? Chihiro, the fiendish serial killer. The culprit is Genocide Jack. I'm sure of it. Case closed, as far as I'm concerned.
But that's impossible!
Why? What makes it impossible?
Well, I mean, come on! There's just no proof for it.
No, that's wrong!
What?
I found this file while I was looking around the archive in the library. I guess it's some kind of What?
The why of it is probably more trouble than it's worth. So let's forget about that. More importantly, it outlines all the specifics of every Genocide Jack case in exceeding detail. According to the file, there appear to be two. The first is that a bloody
No. It's actually bloodlust.
But more important is the other.
Never made public?
Why don't you tell?
I got it! Apparently, in every Genocide Jack case, the killer suspends the body in a certain way. Other than the killer, the only people who know about this are the higher-ups in the...
However, Chihiro was most definitely suspended in the same way. So, how did the culprit know about this when there's only one logic? It's because the culprit in this case is the real Genocide Jack.
No fucking way!
You're saying
Yes.
What?
Genocide Jack's true identity.
You lie!
What? Hey, okay, wait, hold on a sec. Toko has, like, blodophobia or whatever, remember? What kind of serial killer is afraid of blood?
Is Toko Genocide Jack?
Another riddle. Man, why is this gotta be...
I refuse to give up yet! Now I understand! Is it because Genocide Jack has a split personality?
Huh?
I think I read that somewhere in the file. They thought that the suspect might have... What did they...
Oh, okay.
Perfectly, Toko's strange behavior after seeing the...
Shoot! I got it! You're talking about how she started acting totally different than you.
That's right. Think back.
She was acting funny, that's for sure.
Don't go assigning adjectives to my tone without permission.
Not to mention, once she regained consciousness. In other words, within her is one person.
So when Toko trapped herself in her room,
The reason she locked it was to keep her other personality from getting out.
what?
Toko was afraid.
Yeah.
I do believe you misunderstood. What she's trying to say isn't, how can you know all this? No. What she wants to...
Huh?
Last night, just before Monokuma gave his motive speech, she told me, she said, a murderous fiend lived within her, and that trepidation is what's caused her to have...
This is all...
You said you would.
What?
You promised.
You have only yourself to blame. This is the real world, not some romantic fantasy. Besides, you broke your promise. You said that as long as you were here, no matter what, you wouldn't let... But in spite of that
You said if I kept my promise, that's the only reason I promised.
How many times do I have to tell you? I never said that, but you weren't able to do it.
I tried.
But your efforts were useless. What a Well, the opening act is nearly...
You...
Hello there! So you figured it out, huh? Well, whatever. What are you gonna do? I'm the ultimate murderous fiend, Genocide Jack! Or better yet, let's go with Genocide Jack!
What the fuck is this?
Toko! What happened to you?
Not Toko! That's a loser name! And what happened is a textbook split personality! So what if one of them happens to be a serial killer? You should turn a blind eye to one's fault. Like they say, sound and murderous mind, sound and murderous...
This one is so different from the one we've come to know.
Yes, well, the world is composed of a front and a back, just like how every inning has a top and a bottom, or how behind every dark and gloomy soul lives another that shines as Miss Jack, Jill, what's up? Some of us think you might be the Well, I'll tell you, I am the... Just kidding!
Then it's not...
Of course it's not true! How dare you try to link me to that creepazoid! And another thing, the police and government and society in the outside world are totally powerless! I mean, they just let this idiotic bloodthirsty maniac go buck wild all over town!
Sure, I'm a bloodthirsty maniac, but life is pain. It's a necessary evil if you want to survive. Just kidding again!
This should be enough to convince you. There's clearly a motive.
A motive?
Remember what Monica... If someone didn't murder and graduate with it, well, let's assume if a secret like that came to light. So she had a very clear...
Interesting. But sorry, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm not the culprit. But I cannot imagine. And maybe so, maybe so.
Do you really expect...
Yeah, I could... But I didn't kill anyone!
You say that, but do you really expect any of us to believe it?
Perhaps if you had an alibi, that would change things. Oh, an alibi, huh? Now we're talking!
When you compare your past murders to this incident, the modus operandi matches completely. What more proof do we need? Give it up. You killed her.
Sorry, but I didn't kill anyone!
You say that, but do you really expect any of us to believe it?
Perhaps if you had an alibi, that would change things. Oh, an alibi, huh? Now we're talking!
When you compare your past murders to this incident, the modus operandi matches completely.
No, that's wrong! Are the methods of murder really exactly the same? I'm not so sure about that. I think there's a slight difference between the Genocide Jack cases and this one.
Huh? How is it any different?
Uh-oh, you don't know? Well then, human garbage, let me tell you! I murder with passion and conviction. I consider myself a professional, and I have a very particular way of doing things. Imagine you go to a fancy Italian restaurant. They're very picky about the noodles, the sauce, everything. But what happened to Chihiro? It'd be like if that same Italian restaurant started using ragu or Chef Boyardee. This is no creation of mine.
Let me rephrase that. There are two clear differences between... For one, in the Genocide Jack murders, all the victims were killed the same way. According to the case file, they were all apparently killed with a pair of scissors. But Chihiro died from...
Yes! That is remarkably different from the other murders.
Wouldn't it be strange for someone who kills the same way without fail to suddenly... and there's more?
That's right! In my recipe of murder, if the bloody message is the tortellini, then the arrangement of the body would be the pesto sauce!
Could you please stop comparing killing people to cooking?
So, are you saying the other difference has to do with how the...
I got it! Do you remember what they used some kind of rope to hang her up by her wrist?
What is your point?
Well, in all the previous Genocide Jack cases, specifically, pairs of razor-sharp scissors.
And guess what? I use my own specially designed scissors for the murders and the arrangement. Like I said, I'm a professional, so naturally I'm very picky about the tools I use. And you know what else? Big Mac said there's two differences, but he's wrong.
Big Mac? Are you referring to me?
Listen up, Big Mac. There's actually one more difference.
Huh?
My word, you really didn't notice? There's a pattern there, just waiting to be discovered.
A pattern?
Figure that out, and it'll be plain as...
I got it! Is it because...
Bingo! Bullseye! Right on the money!
What are you talking about?
In all the Genocide Jack cases, all the victims had something in common.
They were all...
That's right! The people I killed with such passion and conviction are all adorable little men. I can't believe I said it! I'm so embarrassed.
The hell is wrong with you?
I can't help it! I'm just a full-throttle boy-on-boy fangirl, and the mopey side of me just hates it. But now I'm on the fast track to becoming a full-fledged fan.
So, since Chihiro was a girl and not an adorable...
Would an Italian chef suddenly start making ramen just because they're both noodles? I have too much passion and conviction to cross that line. That's the absolute reality.
We get it. You've clearly explained your hobby and your philosophy. It's a different matter entirely when you're forced to kill and...
Quiet, lowly cur!
Lowly cur?
I would never kill for a reason as petty as mere survival. And if by some fluke I did kill to survive, why would I bother with the message and arrangement?
That does make some amount.
Plus, whatever reason I have for killing, I would never leave out my prized scissors. Who would go out of their way to use a big, stupid, heavy dumbbell?
Maybe you used the dumbbell because you couldn't find any scissors in the school?
Any scissors? I don't just use any scissors. I only use my own set of high-class envy of the entire world scissors!
Okay, whatever. There still aren't any in the school.
Are you sure about that?
She's fully equipped!
That's right! So I can kill. Why would I resort to dumbbells or rope when I have my trusty scissors by my side? Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. You can't, can you? Gutter dogs, all of you! Not to mention, I have no clue how to tie a good knot. So rope's totally out of the question anyway.
I have no idea what's going on anymore! Could such a heinous villain really be innocent?
But the body really was suspect.
Yeah, that's why we figured it.
Here's my answer. Byakuya, you'd have no problem gaining access to classified government documents. Plus, you'd already looked through the Genocide Jack file before this all happened, hadn't you? Right?
Then the reason he pushed the theory because he wanted to pin the crime on her.
So, he rearranged the scene to disguise it and make it look like I put my stamp on it. The adorable glasses man was behind it all. Oh, I'm on fire!
Well, Byakuya, what's your response?
I see. So now then I must ask, when would you say I became...
The way you were acting... You wanted to go to the girls' locker room.
I should have naturally thought of the boys' locker room first. The victim was Chihiro, a girl. Hence why I said we should check the girls' locker room.
Nothing strange about that, I'd say.
On the contrary, there's something very strange.
Okay then, what's so strange about it? Go ahead, share with the rest of the class.
You said Byakuya was acting kinda weird before we found the body. But he was acting weird... how?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check out the girls' locker room,
You absolutely take it! That's a natural reaction for any guy!
The victim was Chihiro, who was a girl. So of course I would suggest we check the girls' locker room first. There was no time for pointless distractions. What's so strange about that?
I wish you'd taken me with you.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body. But he was acting weird... how?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check out the girls' locker room,
You absolutely take it! That's a natural reaction for any guy!
The victim was Chihiro, who was a girl. So of course I would suggest we check the girls' locker room first. There was no time for pointless distractions. What's so strange about that?
I wish you'd taken me with you.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body. But he was acting weird... how?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check out the girls' locker room,
You absolutely take it! That's a natural reaction for any guy!
The victim was Chihiro, who was...
No, he's wrong! I'll tell you what's so because up until we actually discovered the body, we couldn't have known who the victim was. So your claim that you went to the girls' locker room first because Chihiro was the victim doesn't hold up.
I see. That's a good answer, I must admit. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. But your reasoning is still too weak.
Huh?
What's wrong? Is that it? Surely you've got more than that. Go ahead. Show up. What's the matter? You're not finished already, are you? There must...
There is.
There is more to it. Think about it. We just talked about the differences between this case and past Genocide Jack incident. The proof you're looking for is hidden in there.
Oh? Proof that I'm the culprit, you mean?
You want me to explain it again? When I want to kill, I use my very own special scissors. And I use those same scissors to arrange the body.
But Chihiro was suspended with... It was some kind of rope. Was it not?
That's right! It absolutely was!
Then there must be something very fishy indeed about that rope.
Hey, Byakuya, where'd you get it from, huh?
I'd never seen that rope before in my life.
No, it's wrong! Actually, I'm pretty sure you have seen it before. Because, you see, that rope, or should I say, that extension cord?
What? An extension cord?
Byakuya, you've used the extension cord in the library more than once, haven't you? And the same extension cord that was in the library all this time went missing after the murder. And there's no way someone who uses that extension cord as much as you do wouldn't discover that fact.
And Byakuya must be the one who took the extension cord. I can't imagine any other possibility.
That's really what you think? Then your conclusion is something like this? I killed Chihiro in the girls' locker room, then hung her. I intentionally made it look... Is that about right? What's wrong? I asked you.
Hell yes, that's what happened.
I don't disagree with not disagreeing.
You kept calling this a game, right?
Sorry, I think we need to talk about this a little more.
Do we really need to?
I know, there's something that's...
Is that right? And what, pray tell, is still bothering you? I killed her in the girls' locker. Specifically, I dressed it up to make it. What about all that?
I got it! You say you killed Chihiro, but are you sure about that?
What kind of question is that? She was found dead in the girls'. How could the scene of the crime?
Well, I think it's along with the rest of
That was awfully specific. Please tell me.
I believe
Hey! Don't just move on without permission.
Come on, if there's any chance to murder.
I got it! The proof that she was killed somewhere else. Or proof. The poster in the girls, a picture of a big-boobed supermodel. But don't you think that's kind of strange? Why would the girls' locker room have a poster like that?
I bet those massive jugs of hers were totally fake!
Meanwhile, a poster of the super popular boy band Tornado. Again, that doesn't really seem to believe.
So you're saying that...
And there's one other thing. You know what I'm talking about.
You're referring to my protein coffee, aren't you?
Protein coffee?
While I was in the girls' locker room earlier, I spilled some protein coffee on the carpet, but I noticed that after the murder,
I got it! The stain on the girls' locker room carpet. In fact, I found it on the board.
That's definitely the stain from my protein coffee.
Then, does that mean that why?
To move the murder scene from one locker room. What? In other words, the bloodstained poster. By doing this,
I can certainly follow your reasoning, but...
Huh?
Why would they go to all... Actually, an even bigger question. If the then how did Chihiro get in the... To get into the locker rooms. But Chihiro's handbook she had no way to get into the book.
No, she did have a way, and I can tell you what it was.
I highly doubt that.
Shut up! I'm telling you, I know how she could have done it.
Is it really possible? Could Chihiro really have gotten into the boys' locker room somehow?
Ah! I've got it! She must have hacked her e-handbook! She was the ultimate programmer, after all. I'm sure that would have been no problem for her.
No, I don't think that's it. She used the thing that was in the main hall.
Huh? What thing?
I'm talking about Leon's handbook, of course.
no, that's wrong. No, I don't.
Why not?
Because Leon's handbook was broken.
Oh. Well,
I am struck silent.
Plus, isn't there a
Actually, the rule states that loaning your handbook is prohibited. In other words, you could borrow it.
Yup. Hit the nail square on the noggin.
Of course, if it were broken, that wouldn't make...
So then, she must have hacked hers.
You can't fix an e-handbook. The instant you open one up, a security buzzer starts blaring.
So, if she didn't use Leon's handbook...
Maybe Mr. Naegi's initial...
It seems like there's no way she could have got...
Okay then, I vote for B.
Hold on a sec. I agree with you, though. I think you're on the right track.
What the? You finally decide to open? There's no way she could get in the boys'...
Why are you so sure she couldn't get in?
What?
What are you talking about?
Well, why don't we take a little break from the trial? I'd like you...
Wait. Just what do you...
Don't worry. This'll make the whole trial more exciting.
Huh? Well, all right then. I declare an official class trial recess. Now then, what is it you want to show us? It better not be boring or I'll be very unhappy.
Oh, I have no doubt it'll meet your lofty expectations.
girls' locker room?
We've already searched this.
I'd like you to examine the victim. Be sure to examine the...
Examine her. Care?
No, wait, no!
It's probably best.
It's not that I'm creeped out or it.
Very well. I'll do it.
But you're a girl.
No, it's okay. I think Chihiro would rather have a... So just leave...
What is this? Some kind of secret girl-on-girl action? Is that what you two are about? That's not it at all. Stop screwing around.
Okay, I'm sorry, Chihiro. Please,
Be sure to check her entire body.
her entire body. What? This is...
What is it?
Not possible. It's not possible. This
Is what?
is a boy!
You're joking.
I wouldn't choke him.
It's really true.
Chihiro was...
Oh, what? Chihiro Fujisaki was...
He was a cross-dresser?
So that's what Kyoko... Now let's ride this wave of excitement. Ahem. I do we've all just...
Yes, well... I don't... And because the victim was male...
Assuming his hand.
Of course his handbook said he was a boy. He dressed like a girl, but he was a boy through and through.
So then, there should be no... The victim was killed in the boys' locker room, and the killer could have easily used... I still don't understand...
Well, I knew he felt a little.
This is the most pitiful...
So now everything has.
Okay, well, connected or...
What about you, Makoto? After everything we've learned, do you still think Byakuya's the killer?
Well, without a doubt, Byakuya is the one that made Chihiro's death look like Genocide Jack did it, but... I think he might not... What? But aren't he just seems to be too... easygoing about all this. The way he's acting...
And you think that might be because it...
Plus, the evidence he left behind was a little too... How can I put it? Overt. He consciously chose to use the extension cord, knowing it could connect him to the murder. At least, that's how I see it. And Byakuya, when you found out the murder, and then again when you found out Chihiro was actually a guy, if you really were the killer, that stuff wouldn't have had any effect on you.
So that's your thinking, huh? Well, it bothers me that you don't. It's fine. I guess I'll mark it as correct for the time being.
Mark it as...
He's right. I just have.
Are you fucking with us right now?
No, I am not effing with you right now.
Well, I find it very hard to believe.
Go ahead. Find it very hard to believe.
If you're really telling the truth, then...
My reasons hardly matter right now then.
Well, I don't...
We're seriously gonna keep going?
No, I'm with Makoto, because if we're wrong...
That's true.
Damn straight.
Do you not have a mind of...
Of course I do.
Anyway, let's discuss this all as a group.
That's very...
Our lives are all on the line.
Excellent. Then...
I got it!
Isn't there... There a single clue that might lead us to who did it?
Well, clues are one thing, but... Did nobody get a look at the killer?
I'm sure if someone saw the killer, they would have said something by now.
Perhaps someone saw the victim at some point. Even that might be enough for now.
Yeah. All we need right now is any kind of new info.
It's over. It's all over. You want to know who saw the victim? The killer. And only the killer. And it's not like they're just gonna turn themselves in. Game over, man. Game over.
Yeah! No! Not game over!
Isn't there a single clue that might lead us to who did it?
Shoot!
Isn't there a single clue that might lead us to who did it?
Well, clues are one thing, but did nobody get a look at the killer?
I'm sure if someone saw the killer, they would have said something by now.
Perhaps someone saw the victim at some point. Even that might be enough for now.
Yeah. All we need right now is any kind of new info.
Shoot!
Isn't there a single clue that might lead us to who did it?
Well, clues are one thing, but
did nobody get...
I'm sure if someone saw the...
Perhaps someone saw the victim.
Yeah. All we need right now is any kind of new info.
Shoot!
Isn't there a single clue?
Did nobody get...
I'm sure if someone saw the...
Perhaps someone saw the victim.
Yeah.
It's over. You want to know who saw the killer?
And only the killer.
No, that's wrong! I believe someone else did see the victim before he was murdered. What do you think, Celeste?
Now that you mention it, yes, I did see him. Oh, but I suppose only Makoto knows about. The rest of you had no idea, did you?
whatever! Just...
It was last night. Right. I saw him stuffing a track jacket, and then, I assume, he headed off to...
Track jacket and a double bag. But we...
It seems likely that the...
And that is when he said so... Chihiro told me, but why would he be in a hurry? Only if someone were waiting.
So, Mr. Fujisaki...
But Hina and I had invited him to exercise with...
Probably because he was afraid you'd find out the secret he was hiding, right?
Which means that conversely, enough, so that he was...
The point is, whoever he met up with is the culprit, right?
But knowing what we know, I can't even guess.
No. You You know who the killer is.
Who is it?
Think back to the track jacket and duffel bag the killer. Focus on the details of these items, and it should become obvious.
Are you You really think we can figure out...
What? You want to track down some things?
Even if we had the equipment for that, we would...
As was noted, the evidence is already...
Maybe, but we can make certain
Easy for you to... But fine.
The bag was just a normal duffel bag. All the bags in there are the same.
Well, if I remember right, do you think there might be some...
Perhaps. Let's... First of all, we know where Chihiro was headed. He was on his way to go exercise. So next we have to ask, why did he choose the specific tracksuit that he did?
What do you mean, the specific tracksuit?
I got it! He picked that tracksuit because it matched the one the culprit was wearing!
So, what you're saying is, the killer was wearing the same blue tracksuit as him?
No, that's wrong! Hold on a second, Mondo. What did you just say?
Huh?
When Celeste testified... She never said anything about the jacket's color, so why did you say Chihiro's blue tracksuit?
What are you...
Hey, Celeste.
As a matter of fact, it was blue.
And before we began the trial...
The only one I told about any of this was you.
Then... Mondo...
Because I'm sure he saw the clothes...
No, that the bag and clothes...
Then the only reason he could have known what color the tracksuit was is if he saw Cherry with it before he...
Cherry?
So, how about it?
Just by chance, he walked past me.
No, that can't be it. When Celeste noticed it, Chihiro made a point of making sure the jacket would if you just ran into him briefly.
It would appear you've dug your own grave.
Perhaps. If you can't focus on the tracksuit, and it'll be.
Your true intention was to draw a slip of the tongue. That's why you said you knew who did it.
That's right. Mondo was my target all over. Why? That's a good question. There was a certain turning. Maybe you didn't notice it. You only called guys, and after he was killed, once I picked up on that, it occurred.
Are you a witch? She's a
No, not nearly as frightful as.
Mondo, did you really kill Chihiro?
I didn't kill anyone! You've been all over me, judging everything I say, putting work. What gives you the right to?
Yeah! He would never do something like that! This is a false accusation!
It's true. My reasoning on that is pretty shaky.
That was.
Well, this does present us with.
That's what my little ghost friend is telling me.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Hifumi.
Really? What kind of evidence?
Actually, now that I'm thinking.
Jeez, does your comp?
What do you have there?
It happens to be an E.
I got it! We know Chihiro's
For a fact, I was totally You're right.
But it must hold some.
Well, that's what I would.
I imagine the culprit broke it.
That's odd. I didn't think the handbooks were.
You're right. They're not. They're totally waterproof and shock resistant. It would take an awful lot to break one.
And yet, this one does appear to be broken. For all your confidence. That is.
Do you think there might be some kind of mystery in there somewhere? How precisely did the...
I got it! You already told us before that the handbook has one weak point, didn't you?
Sure, maybe I let that slip, but I never told anyone what the weak point actually was.
But if the handbook is supposed to never break,
Then we can only assume that someone's figured out its weak. You know what the weakness is. I think it's a necessary.
But if I tell you, and someone else decides...
Just tell us already! Why would we want to break our own handbook?
Oh well, I have a weakness for pushy demands. But you're sure you won't follow their example? Then allow me to make a special announcement. When it's exposed to high temperatures for too long, it will suffer a meltdown and totally break!
I flippin' knew it!
You knew it?
Yeah, because I found the handbook laying on the floor of the sauna.
The temperature in the sauna can reach over 200 degrees. Strange how you don't get burnt, huh? It's because as your sweat evaporates, it creates a cooling layer of air around your skin. If the hot air of the sauna were that layer of air would get blown away. That's why you may feel a burning when you move around. So when you're in a sauna, make sure to keep nice and still.
That is a mere trifling speck of knowledge.
Anyway, if you found, then the killer must have been purposely trying.
meaning the culprit somehow.
But how'd they find out?
Indeed.
What if they found out?
What do you mean?
What if the killer took their own handbook into the sauna, not knowing its weakness? And it broke. They'd realize it was broken, of course. And once they had Chihiro's handbook...
I won't say it's not pop. I don't know of anyone who.
I might know someone. Whoa! I think the one who may have. my answer. Mondo, your
Why do you keep...
Mondo and Taka had an endurance contest in the sauna not too long. And for the contest, Mondo just so happened to keep his school uniform on. But little did he realize, and when it was all over...
No, wait, hold on! You got it all wrong! He would never... I don't accept this! Show me the proof! The actual solid proof!
Let's test Makoto's assertion. What he says is correct, then Mondo, you broke your own handbook.
In other words, if Mondo's handbook is actually broken, then that proves that what Makoto said is right.
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he said you broke your own handbook.
In other words, if Mondo, then that proves that what...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he said you broke your own.
In other words, if Mondo, then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he said you broke your own handbook.
In other words, if then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test Makoto's if what he said you broke your own.
In other words, if then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Look! Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he said you broke your own handbook.
In other words, if then that proves that what...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Look! Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own handbook.
In other words, if Mondo, then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong after all!
Shoot!
Let's test Makoto's assertion. If what he says is correct, then Mondo...
You broke your own handbook.
In other words, if Mondo's handbook, then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine! Shoot!
Let's test if what he said you broke your own hand.
In other words, if then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test Makoto's assertion. If what he says is correct,
then you broke your own
handbook.
In other words, if Mondo's handbook is actually broken, then that proves that what Makoto said is right.
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Look! Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he said you broke your own.
In other words, if not, then that proves...
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Look! Makoto was wrong after all!
Shoot!
refuse to give up yet!
Let's test Makoto's assertion. If what he says is correct, then Mondo, you broke your own handbook.
In other words, if then that proves that what—
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Look, Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test Makoto's assertion. If what he says is— correct, then Mondo,
you broke your own hand. In other words, if then that proves—
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Look! Makoto was wrong after all!
Shoot!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own hand. In other words, if then that proves—
Well, my goddamn handbook—
See? Look, Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own hand. In other words, if then that proves—
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test Makoto's if what he says you broke your own. In other words, if then that proves—
Well, my goddamn handbook works—
See? Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own. In other words, if then that proves—
Well, my
goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own. In other words, if then that proves—
Well, my goddamn handbook—
See? Makoto was wrong after all! Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own. In other words, if then that proves that what Makoto said is right.
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
Shoot!
let's test Makoto's assertion.
If what he says you broke your own. In other words, if Mondo's handbook, then that proves that—
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
See? Makoto was wrong. Mondo wouldn't hurt a fly!
Let's test if what he says you broke your own. In other words, if then that proves that—
Well, my goddamn handbook works just fine!
No, that's wrong! Mondo.
The fuck is that supposed to—
The broken handbook that was in— Isn't that one actually yours?
What the heck are you talking about?
What I mean is, I think you took Leon's after all. Monokuma said himself—
That's right! The punishment it suffered wasn't—
So then, which would mean that the handbook— But doesn't that violate the school regulation?
Well, there is a rule about loaning your handbook to it. It's kind of a gray area. As such, I decree that
Well, Mondo, I'm happy to—
What's wrong, bro? You are wrong! Everything you just—
Okay, then why don't we look back on this case that way? killer is you! First, last at the time. That's... with bag in hand, she made her, but how could the... The killer is you! With bag... She made her way to the lock, but how could the victim...